Okay, so let's have a look at question 5 for the 2023 Higher Level Maths Leaving Cert Paper 2. Rowan has a large number of small cubes. The cubes are identical in size. Some of the cubes are red, some are green, and the rest are blue. Rowan carries out an experiment in which he picks out 5 different cubes. At random, he records the number of cubes of each color and replaces the 5 cubes. He then repeats this process a number of times. The table below shows the number of cubes of each color the first 7 times Rowan does this. So he labels the trials A to G. So we can see here what's happened. In trial 1 he picked 0 red, 4 green and 1 blue, and so on. So each column should add up to 5. Work out the mean and standard deviation of the number of red cubes per trial for these 7 trials. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. Okay, now you can do this on a calculator. So just to show you how this might be done, just grab a calculator. So you need to set up statistics mode. So just go to setup, 2, and 1 variable. So you need to put in the variables here. So let's see, we have red cubes. So the red cubes start at 0. So put in 0, 3, 2, 2, 4, 5, and 1. Okay, so you then need to just press Shift and 1. On the newer calculator is slightly different. You press, I think there's an option button here. But we are looking for, what are we looking for? The mean and the standard deviation. The mean and the standard deviation. So let's look at 5. So we want the mean here, which is number 2. And we get a mean of 2.42. Now it says 1 decimal place, so we're going to go x bar, or let's just say, we'll call it mu because it's the population here if you like. It's going to be 2.4. So we also need the standard deviation. So let's see what that is. So standard deviation is going to be this one here. So it's going to be 3 and 1.59 to 1 decimal place 1.6. Now some of you may have done this manually, so I'm going to quickly run through that. If you're happy enough with this, just skip on to the next part of the question. So the mean then, the mean is just going to be all of them added. So 0 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 1 added up and divided by 7. The standard deviation is given by, it's a standard deviation of a list of numbers. So this is the formula in your tables. So it's x minus mu to be squared over n. This is your formula here if you like. So you would start by listing all the x's. So the x's are 0, 3, 2, 2, 4, 5, 1. The mean then is 2.4, so you can put that down next to each of them. 2.4. Now we want this bit here, x minus, so we want the x minus the mean, and we want to square it. So if you do that, you get 5.76 here, 0.36 here, 0.16, 0.16, 2.56, 6.76, and 1.96. You want to add all of those up. That's what this symbol here means. Add them all up. When you do that, you get 17.72. And then finally, you just take your 17.72 divided by 7. That gives you 2.5314, 2.5314. Goes on for a bit, and then you just got to get the square root of that. That's this bit here. So 2.5314. That gives you a standard deviation of 1.591 and so on, or 1.6, which is what we got here. So this is the manual way of doing it, or you can do it on your calculator if the marking scheme says accept answers without work. But they didn't say to show how you got the answer here, so I'm assuming you can just use your calculator. You just got to be careful you don't type in the wrong thing, because if you make one little mistake, then this answer will be wrong, or this answer will be wrong, and you'll get 0 for the particular answer. Let's go on to the next part. Work out the correlation coefficient between the number of red cubes and the number of green cubes per trial for these 7 trials. Give your answer correct to 3 decimal places. So the correlation coefficient again can be done on your calculator. I'll just run through that as well. So let's just get rid of what's in there first. Go back to stats mode. And we have 2 variables now, so we're going to look at this one here. So we got to put in all the individual numbers again. So the x's are 0, 3, 2, 2, 4, 5, and 1. Now if we move over and up, we've got to put in the green ones now, so that's going to be 4, 2, 0, 3, 0, 0, and 2. Okay, again press Shift and 1, or the new calculator press Option. Okay, we want the correlation coefficient, so I'm going to press number 7 here, reg here. It's number 7. And you see OR here, that's the symbol for correlation coefficient, so it's number 3. Press equals and you get minus 0.762 to 3 decimal places. So that's what we need here. So 3 decimal places. It's going to be minus 0.762. Rowan repeats this experiment a large number of times. Explain why you would expect the correlation coefficient between the number of red cubes and the number of green cubes per trial to be negative. So if you think about it, the correlation coefficient between any 2 colors is going to be negative, because the more of one you pick, the less of the other one you're going to pick. So if you pick more reds, you're going to pick less greens. So you're always going to get this negative facing or negative sloping line here. So if you pick 5 reds, you're going to have 0 greens. 4 reds, you're going to have 1 green. 3 reds, you're going to have 2, and so on. However, this is assuming, by the way, that there are no blues picked. So I've kind of made a statement here. Maybe I've gone into it in too much detail, I'm not too sure, but let's have a look at it. The mean for the red is 2.4. The mean for the green is 1.6, based on Rowan's initial 7 trials. So it would appear that there are more reds than green. The standard deviation is roughly the same. Now there is likely to be more red cubes than green based on Rowan's initial trial. If Rowan picks 5 red, that means 0 green. 4 reds, 1 green, 3 reds, 2 green, and so on. This will always be a negative sloping graph. So that's kind of my explanation for it. And you're more likely to pick out a red cube than a green cube based on the mean values that I've written down here. So that's my general explanation of it anyway. Let's have a look at B then. Rowan makes a solid cube of dimensions 5 times 3 times 4 using his small cubes. Each small cube has sides of length 1 unit. Some of the small cubes have 1 face, 2 faces, or 3 faces on the outside of the cuboid. In the diagram below, the small cube that is shaded has 3 faces on the outside of the cuboid. Fill in the table showing the number of cubes with 3 faces, 2 faces, 1 face, or no faces on the outside of the cuboid. Show you're working out. One of the values is done. So they did 22. These are the answers I got here anyway. My working out, if you like, is just a lot more English than maths, but anyway, we have 8 corner cubes with 3 faces showing. So you've got 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 4 on the bottom as well. That's 8. So that's where this 8 came from. Now 2 faces on the outside. So 2 faces on the outside are going to be this one, and this one. These are at the edge of each face, excluding the corners. So there's an edge there of a face, there's an edge there of a face, there's an edge there of a face, and so on. So they're going to be at the edge, and if you exclude the 2 corners, you've got these 3 here. So you've got 3 here, and there are 4 of these 3s. There's 3 here, and then 3 here, and on the side we can't see as well. So that's where I got 3 times 4. You have 2 here, and there are 4 of those. So you got 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 2 on the other side that we can't see. So that's 2 times 4. And then you've got 1 here on this side here, and then you've got 1 down here, so you've got 4 of those as well. So that's 1 times 4, giving 24. 22 is done for us, and then the number with no faces showing. Well, there's only 1 layer in the middle. So you can see you've got 3 here in the middle, but there's only 1 layer down along here. So that means underneath this, you will have, they go down 2 layers, two steps if you like. So there's 1 layer down the center here, and they go down twice in the middle here. So there's going to be 1 here and 1 here. So there's 3 along here. So 2 times 3, 6. So that's where I get this 6 from. There are 3 center cubes at each of the top and the bottom faces. Between these, there are 2 layers. So 2 times 3 is 6. So they're my answer, and I just checked it. The volume of this cube is 5 units times 3 units times 4. If you do that, you get 60. Now, if I add these up, then I should get 60 as well, and I do. So that was my kind of check to make sure I hadn't made any mistakes. So that's it for this question.